Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective. And today is going to be a little bit different because instead of giving you adults information, I'm going to be giving out information for the kids out there. And as you know, Dr. Bobby loves the kids. And so I had someone request that I make a video to help get our kids healthier. And it was a really great request because when you really think about it, our kids are as unhealthy as they've always been. And if you've read my book, Education Over Medication, one of the things I talk about in there is one of the statistics that sort of scared me the most when it comes to kids' health is that this generation coming up is probably going to be the first generation of children who are going to pass away before their adult parents. Okay, that's how unhealthy we are today. And when you start to look at a lot of the health statistics today surrounding kids, 20 to 25% of kids today are obese. I won't even get into the conversation of obese and overweight, but 20 to 25%. Fatty liver disease, which was the disease that was specific to alcoholics back in the day, but today we're starting to see children with fatty liver disease. Okay, we're starting to see children with the early signs of not only elevated cholesterol but heart disease, and I'm talking about children that are in their early teens. We're starting to see this uptick and rise exponentially in autism. And just to give you a little bit of, some statistics, if you go back to 1980, 1 out of every 10,000 children was diagnosed with autism. And if you think about today, that number is somewhere around 1 out of every 36 or 34. Okay, and they're predicting in 2050 that it's going to be 1 out of every 2. So if you have 4 kids, 2 of them will have autism. And let me tell you something. Kids are a joy no matter what is going on with the kid, but at the end of the day, it is tougher to have, a child who's, going through some learning disabilities. And so society is doing their best to prepare on how we adjust our societies to this growing population of children. But it's also really important to understand that there are things that you can do at home as a parent, as an aunt, as an uncle, as a godmother, godfather, you name it. No matter how you're involved in a child's life, I think this is why this video will also be important. And also another big thing, ADD. And look at how many kids are on medications. And these medications for ADD are powerful drugs. They're not just the kind of drugs you just pop a pill and then you just walk away and there's no side effects. They have powerful effects, and I need to do an entire video on that as well too. And also, we're starting to see a huge explosion in depression and suicide rates when it comes to children as well too. And a lot of this goes back to the diet. Okay, so it's hugely important we understand that there are things that we could do that don't end in a prescription. And a lot of times our children are getting diagnosed with things, and these are common things. These are things that, 30 years ago, we saw a child who was hyperactive in the class, and we just said, all right, they can't wait for recess. But today, our whole perspective on being trigger happy with diagnosing kids, putting kids on prescription medications, and they're even having all of these crazy kind of parties where it's like pill parties, where they literally are putting handfuls of their parents' prescriptions in a bowl and grabbing a handful and taking them. And so a lot is going awry, especially not only with our children's health, but also the environment in which we live in. And when you start to think about it, especially here in America, America is one of the few countries where food companies are allowed to target children, and there's a very good reason why most other countries don't allow for that. Okay, especially when they're targeting children with foods that are creating most of these conditions that I'm talking about. So this is a huge issue. It's a huge issue for parents. It's a huge issue for teachers. It's a huge issue for family members. And it's a huge issue for the child themselves who are struggling in this world and trying to figure out how to navigate this world. And so it's hugely important that us as the caregivers understand the importance of nutrition. And so what I'm going to do today is go over eight tips. I'm going to give you 8 tips to help you navigate the waters of how do we make sure our kids are eating healthy? How do we help our children transition from this diet of hot Takis and and Fruit Loops to a healthier diet without them, without them going crazy? How do we keep our children healthy, which is a huge thing? This is what you need to understand. And I tell people this all the time, and people don't listen to me. But at some point, you're going to become the parent to your parents, okay? And at some point, your children are going to be your parents. They're going to have to take care of you. And if you don't carefully take care of your children, there will be nobody there to take care of you, okay? So this is a huge issue. This is how societies have worked for years. So it's important that we know and understand that this has a societal effect and also an individual family effect as well too. So this is a huge issue, and our next generation is the future. Okay, so this isn't something that we can't play with. This is something that we need to step up. So make sure at the end of the day, watch this video, share it with people. We need to get this information out there because you've never seen a commercial of the USDA, the FDA talking about what we need to do to make our kids healthier. Just look at school lunches today. School lunches are the equivalent to what you would see in a prison. And not only do our kids need to be fed better, but even prisoners need to be fed better because all of this is attached back to behavior. Okay, so if you look at what we're feeding our kids at school, what's allowed as a vegetable, a pack of ketchup is allowed as a vegetable. The amount of sugary beverages that they're consuming, the amount of sugar, period, that they're consuming throughout the day, the amount of dyes, thickening agents, emulsifiers, sugar, I can go on and on. It makes sense why our kids are having so many brain developmental issues, are having so many health issues, and are so depressed today. All right, so this is a real huge issue. And so let's get into it. Number one, the number one way that you can make sure that your kids eat healthy and they don't have to worry about developing obesity, being overweight, having an early menses, the list goes on and on. The number one way you could do that is don't get them addicted in the first place. You have to say no to all the commercials, there's a reason why McDonald's has a kids Happy Meal with a toy in it, and they're targeting them with colors. There's a really good reason. Okay, so you have to be the gatekeeper for your child. The most important thing you could do is don't get them addicted in the first place. Because I'll tell you, it is going to be very difficult to shift somebody's taste buds away from something that is designed to be addictive in the first place, okay? And the reason why I'm using the word addictive, because it is no different. Just think about it. Whenever you take that food away from your child, they literally have an outburst. They literally will decide to starve themselves instead of eat the healthy food that you're trying to put in front of them, okay? But the most important thing is that they're watching you too. So they're looking at your behavior and what you're eating. And this is what I always tell parents. The first thing we give our kids is genetics. The second thing we give them is our habits. So you can't tell them to eat their greens and you're not eating your greens, okay? You have to be the first example for them. If you're eating hot Takis and hot dogs and all of this food that is a level 1 carcinogen, bologna meat, turkey meat, making sandwiches with it, Lunchables, all of this kind of meat is a level 1 carcinogen. This is why the rates of cancers have gone through the roof for children. Okay, so it's hugely important to understand, don't get them addicted in the first place. Secondarily, They're going to mimic your behavior. Okay. All right. So you cannot hold them accountable for something you don't hold your own self accountable for. All right. Most importantly. All right. The next one, switch everything to real food. It is going to be a chore if you didn't follow step number one. All right. Now, if you're a person out there, you haven't had your children, most important thing for you is number one. And then the rest of these things you probably don't even have to worry about. If you do number one, don't get them addicted in the first place, then you're going to do all the things that I'm talking about coming next, which is the next one is switch to real food, everything real food. This probably means that you can't allow a school to feed your kids. This probably means that you need to make real meals, okay? Only eat at places that provide real food, okay? And this is gonna be difficult because if you have not did number one, prevented them from getting addicted to it, Franken foods, then they're gonna be irritated and you're gonna see the signs of withdrawal, which is irritation, which is these outbursts, which is willing to starve themselves, which is sneaking out at night in the middle of the night to grab things that shouldn't be in the house in the first place. Okay. That's why I always tell parents, if your kids are sneaking away to get food and it's in the house if they got to sneak and get it, then it should be there in the first place. All right. So that's going to be really important because, again, when you switch to real foods, and most important thing, it is going to take a little time for the taste buds to adjust, because what they think is blueberry, because you've been feeding them blueberry Pop-Tarts or whatever it may be, when you actually start to give them blueberries, they're going to be like, this isn't blueberries. I've literally heard that. Okay. Because they've never tasted a blueberry. Okay. So it's just really important to understand that you got to switch them to real food, not only for their health. It's going to take a little time for their taste buds to adjust. They're going to be irritated. They're going to have withdrawal symptoms. They're going to not like you, but you need to be okay with that, because that's what being an adult and a parent is about. Sometimes your kids are just not going to like you. You need to be okay with that. That's just it. All right. The next one, transition them with smoothies. Okay. Transition them with smoothies. And the reason why I say that is because you can make a smoothie taste really good by using a nice combination of fruits and a little bit of, nice vegetation in there as well too. Now, when they see it, they may not like the color. Let's say if it's a green smoothie. But when they taste it, and if it tastes good, it gets their brain to say, okay, greens may not be that bad. Okay, so now you could try a salad. And in that salad, you can add some tasty things to it, like some cut up dates, some caramelized walnuts, whatever it may be. Okay. You can make a nice salad dressing for them. Okay. You'll be able to transition them. But smoothies are one of the best things you can transition kids with. And I'll talk a little bit about why that is in just a second. But getting them in the habit of drinking a smoothie that has multiple food groups that are going to be very nutritional for the trial. So you're packing and loading down this child with vitamins, minerals, trace elements, healthy fats, etc. Now you're getting them to get a lot of that nutrition that they haven't been getting in the first place. So transition them with smoothies. All right. The next thing is take them to a farm to actually see real food. I can't tell you the joy I get when I do my farm tours during my retreat and I'm able to see young people see food on the tree for the first time. Like, most people have only seen food at the supermarket. They've never seen it grown before. And so to see adults and kids get joy out of seeing, like, this is the process, this is where it starts, it connects them with their food. Okay, so we need to reconnect our children with our food. We need to reconnect ourselves with our food. All right. And I think we can do that if you start to actually let them see what real food looks like. Okay. The next thing, exotic fruits. Okay. As you know, I am a lover and connoisseur of exotic fruits. I own a tropical fruit farm. I'm co-owner of I Heart Fruit Box, the letter I Heart Fruit Box. And you can get soursop, mamey, sugar apple, mangosteen, key limes. The list goes on, okay? And everything you get from us is seeded, seasonal, and grown in a natural fashion. No pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides, grown clean. And the reason why I say this next one is important is because not only are exotic fruits going to be attractive to the eye of a child because they look different, they taste different, they taste real, but also this is going to be the new dessert for your child. So instead of feeding them cake, cookies, and pies, now you can feed them exotic fruits. So check us out at I Heard Fruit Box. You're going to love your next fruit box, okay? And please, if you show the kids with the fruits, do a video, make sure you tag us in it, all right? Next one, allow your kids to cook with you, okay? I think we're on number 7 now. Allow your kids to cook with you, okay? Make them part of the process. Allow them to have some say-so. And all right, you want this? All right, so we're gonna need this, this, and this. All right, give them options to choose for. Make them part of the process. I find that when you add kids to the process, all of a sudden, they feel like, they contributed and it's fun and they got to do it with you. So this is like a game changer, okay? Number 7, watch some documentaries, okay? I think this is important because, I moved back to the States from Japan and traveling the world in 2018, and either 2017 or 18, they came out with a documentary called What the Health. And it seemed like that one documentary shifted a lot of people. Just seeing what happens to animals, seeing how their food is actually made, and the lack of care and attention and all the chemicals that go into it. It seems like that was the spark that shifted and changed a lot of people. So I would highly recommend watching some documentaries with your kids and your family as well too. So a couple of great documentaries. Take Your Pills, okay? Because the last thing kids want to do is take pills. The last thing adults want to do is take pills. So that'll be a good one. Earthlings is a really good one. I think that's really good for kids. Another one is called Poison. You Are What You Eat, which I really like because what they did was they took twins. They had one twin on a really healthy diet, one twin on an unhealthy diet. They have the same genetics, and you see how diet affects two different people who have the same genetic makeup. All they changed was the diet. So I think that's really important as well. So You Are What You Eat. The Game Changers is really good, especially if you have kids who are playing sports. Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead is another really good one. One of the first ones I watched and I loved. And another one is Unwell. So those are just a few documentaries. And then the last one, and this is something that I did with kids I mentor, even my son, is that volunteering. I used to take kids to volunteer to give out food at shelters. We would make plates and give out kids to the homeless. Also getting kids to volunteer. They have volunteer programs where kids can go into the hospitals and see what sick kids look like, okay? I think that'll be a huge opportunity as well for kids. So I hope this has been helpful in terms of helping you understand what we could do to heal our children and to prevent our children from getting sick in the first place. Because the greatest form of wealth is health. That's the greatest form of wealth you can pass down to the next generation. The fact that they don't have to spend their golden years sick with dementia, riddled with disease, riddled with inflammation all over their bodies. That's one of the greatest form of wealth we can give our kids. We're always thinking about money or a house or a car or something that material that we lead to our kids, but leaving behind health is the greatest form of wealth we can lead to our children. So I hope this has been helpful. Please make sure you share this with other people. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button up at the top so that you'll get notifications when great content like this comes out in the future. And until the next time, peace and blessings. Oh, last one, read my book, Vegetation Over Medication, with the kids. I found that a lot of kids, when they watch videos, I've seen teenagers read the book, and after reading the book, it shifts their minds too. So that's a bonus for you guys as well too. So until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.